Okay, it's been a long day. Congratulations for all of you that are still here. I want to make sure that we recognize the young people that have taken the time and stepped out in environments that are not always supportive initially, that are not always considered cool. Please, youth council representatives, please stand up. Okay. Great job, tremendous job on the youth panel. And by the way, that's just a start. You're going to have to get used to taking questions, not always the ones that you're used to hearing, because we're trying to create new space. And fantastic job today. So I'm just going to leave you with some thoughts. First thought is this. You know, when Barack Obama was elected, we could say that we made it to one mountaintop, but if we don't clear our glasses, even being on a new mountaintop in terms of opportunities for minorities, opportunities for new vantage points, doesn't really mean much. So today was about clearing those glasses to make sure we see everything, to make sure the young people see where we're coming from, and to make sure that we see where they're coming from. If we can go to the next one, please. Oh, I do? Oh, wow. What do I click? Great. You know, America's Promise has been a great leader in this work, and I want to thank Nancy Volpe. Stand up, please, Nancy, for her leadership here in Kansas and with CVS. And one of the things that they did was they hosted something with the Gallup organization that looked at test scores and SATs and all those things, those results that our previous speaker talked about, results rather than, relationships. And they found that hope and engagement are far more accurate indicators of future success. So, we can get caught up in the complexity of this, but it really has to come back to emotion. As one of the, I think it was Vree, where are you? I think that's your name. Anyway, it was talking about how, you have to speak with emotion. If you're bored, what is your name? Bree, yes. You said, hey, if you're bored, we're going to be bored too. So it comes back to emotion. Hope and engagement. We are leaving our greatest legacy by making sure that we carry ourselves in the work we do as teachers, as administrators, as students with emotion each day. We have to find reasons to make it an emotional, exciting, passionate day. And one quick story is Shawnee Mission East may not represent all schools in Kansas, but the year before I spoke to them, 40 kids had volunteered. They simply had a different question that was asked them. And I simply said to them, and you can imagine, this was the 3 cafeteria lunch breaks for the school. The seniors were too cool. This was National Volunteer Week in April of 1993. So I was basically speaking to 3/4 of the school, and I would say to them, how many of you feel like your education, have questioned what your education means? And most of them raised their hands. What does it mean to you? What do you here in school for? Then I said, I guarantee you that if you take the time to commit to being part of a larger purpose, as in this project, I guarantee you that you will have a better sense of your life purpose. They went in 1 year from 40 kids to 400 kids, young people, young adults volunteering. So part of it is asking that question. How often do we forget to ask the most fundamental questions that keep that passion? So learning is emotional first. When you have a child, when you see a young child, when we were developing, we were rolling around on that floor as Devon was talking about, one of his kids didn't learn to walk till they were 13, I don't think parents are saying, at 3 o'clock this afternoon, you're going to be learning the subjunctive. And then we'll do vocabulary at 5 o'clock. As a baby, we learned emotionally. We learned what our parents modeled for us, which was one of the key messages earlier. So if it is emotional when we begin, our brains take in that environment, the way we process things. And if we can use a strategy as we invade the classroom with a new sense of passion that is not only about the books, but it's also about connecting to young people, that sense of emotion, that sense of real-time issues, real life, keeping it real, keeping it so that it jumps off of the page, role modeling whenever we can, putting young people in there to play the roles in history, for instance, is a classic thing. But that, in turn, gives young people a chance to give voice to who they are and to embody certain great qualities. So my vision for success is just like these kids from 12 tribes from the Nation Building for Native Youth program. Engaged, empowered, confident, solving meaningful problems in their communities, giving them those chances as early as possible. Just like Thomas, the 10-year-old I talked about earlier, who said, real power is about listening to others. And just like Jeffrey, the 11-year-old, who said, I'm going to tell people when I come back to my community, I'm going to thank the people that supported me. If an 11-year-old can do that, do you think that 15 and 16-year-olds can respond to that? I know I'm preaching to the choir here. We've been through this all day. So if it's gang activity and lack of positive choices, today is about creating a new generation of positive choices, positive alliances, going beyond the ego, which is really our past identities. And really it's about whether it's in Kansas City, I said 40% in Kansas City, it's 51% in Wichita. It is about linking the entire person's day to the notion of education. It is really the 24-hour learning clock. And that's the challenge we have, is we didn't have a great deal of parental organizations, although we had some. Are some of them still here? That's going to be the work, the hard work, to give parents the sense that this is so important that they will take that extra step. Because everything that happens, just like in Indian country, when Kyle Goklish, who was featured in the New York Times in 2002, because he was a straight-A student, a great basketball player, and as soon as he was set apart, there were those that sabotaged him. And then he would go home and his parents would tell him, you're betraying our Indian culture. Well, that happens in other ways too, in other cultures as well. And we have to make sure that if we can target those families that are either intentionally or not intentionally sabotaging those messages, those sense of destiny for our young people, we'll change their lives.